Hey, 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 everyone! I'm Becca, he's Matt, and this is Becca's Book Club Adventure. And we read Apples Dipped in Gold by Scarlett St. Clair, so you don't have to. Or maybe you should.
Yes, we did. Well, Becca read it, told me about it without any spoilers. I'll link that somewhere. And then I decided to read it, and now we're finally going to talk about it.
And before we get too started, I just need to let you know, I do have a hard stop today. I have to go get Duxie's nails done.
Okay. Well, we talking gel, enamel, they getting a fun design? Like what's Duxie's nails getting?
Getting short.
Short? Woo! I think Kevin's done that at home before. Doesn't he usually like
And then it bleeds everywhere. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't know if those of you have ever cut dogs' nails before. When it starts to bleed, it doesn't stop bleeding. So they just bleed everywhere for a long time.
So hence the professional interjection.
Yes. Hence the
Yes.
reason why we go and we thank them very, very much for what takes me an hour. It takes them 5 minutes to do.
I think I saw I don't think this would work with Duxie, but I saw on Instagram with somebody that owns wiener dogs would like put the wiener dog like in a hammock type of a thing. And then they would cover their own head with saran wrap or whatever, smear peanut butter all over the saran wrap, and then the dog would just sit there and lick their head while they go around and cut the nails. I don't think you could do that with Duxie though.
My dog will do a lot of things for food, but nail clipping
Not
is not it.
that. Okay, so apples dipped in gold, right? That's what we're talking.
Yeah. So what did you think?
I liked it. It was a nice palate cleanser. What do you remember liking about it?
I really like the interjection of all of the different fairy tales and myths into like one little new novel.
Yes. Do you remember what you rated it?
I probably told you a different number on the last one, but solid 4 for me. You know, it had everything that I wanted in a book. It was really dark, which made for a good October read or September read, whenever it was that I read it. All read. And it really makes me want more of this series to come out. I'm really enjoying Mountains Made of Glass and the parallels. They're all complete stories in and of themselves. You could probably read them in their whatever order you wanted to, but there's only 2 right now. I really need the rest. I need the other 5 brothers to come out.
There's definitely going to be 5 because there's 7 elven princes. There's a lot of connective tissue between book 1 and book 2, but it's just that. It's just connective tissue. It's not plot.
Yeah, it's not necessary.
So they're definitely standalones. I ended up rating it a 3.75. And the review I wrote down on Storygraph is that it's a fun and it's fun and dark. It's a fairy tale retelling that stays true to the original fairy tales. It's an homage to the dark fairy tales of like the Grimm brothers and Hans Christian Andersen. You think you know which fairy tales are being retold, but like you think it's Cinderella, you think it's Snow White and stuff like that, but you're completely and utterly mistaken.
I love that Scarlett has a section at the end of her book where she talks about what fairy tales used to tell the story. Because I was like, oh yeah, this is Snow White and the 7 Dwarves with her mean brothers or whatever, and it's just a dark twist on that. No.
Yep. Okay, so what I want to talk just really high level about the spiciness. What I know we don't really have a good scale developed, but like what would you tell people is the spiciness level of this book?
It's been a hot minute since I've read it. And I've finished The Cursed afterwards, which is probably skewing the scales. But I would probably say one pepper? 1 chili pepper?
Yeah. I think it's 1, maybe 1.5 chili peppers. They're definitely red spicy peppers.
Yes. No banana peppers.
Whereas Mountains Made of Glass was more like 3 or 4 chili
Yeah.
peppers.
It was spicier.
Um,
I would say 2, but spicier.
Spicy, yeah. What if you could compare this book to book 1, did you like one more than the other? Any standouts, differences, or similarities?
There's plenty of similarities in regards to we have female main characters who come from a disadvantaged background, who are really just trying to survive. They're not really trying to thrive and end up on this interesting storyline where they're kind of outcast from their community. Um, I liked them both independently for different reasons. I really liked the main female character, I think, a bit more in this book. Um, and maybe that's because we just had a little bit more background as to like the abuse that she went through. Where the last one, it was kind of a very quick, like, nobody liked her, but she was fine in her cabin. Where this one, it was like, nobody liked her and her brothers were mean.
Yeah. I also liked this second. I liked this second book a little bit more, and I think it's because it was a little bit cutesier. It was a little bit more whimsical. It was the same level of good writing. Um, and if anybody reads a fairy tale retelling, they're kind of more concise. They're kind of more to the point. There's not this overt huge amount of world building. So if you're used to reading a little bit more of a high fantasy style of fantasy, then these can feel disappointing to you unless you alter your expectations of them. Um, so to that point, I will say in the first book, when you get into the spicy scenes in the first book, because there's not a lot of buildup and it just happens, it kind of feels almost like they're like hate fucking each other
Hmm.
out of nowhere. Um, and I felt like this book did a lot better. I enjoyed the romance
The
buildup in
relationship.
it more. Um, yeah. So should we recap it?
I think we should. I think we need to do two things first, though.
Okay. What's the first thing?
First, if any listeners would like to join the conversation, feel free to leave us a comment or review. Email us at bookclubbybecca@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram at Becca's Book Club Adventure. Hopefully, we hear from you. Second,
And what's the second thing?
let's thank today's sponsor.
All right.
This episode is brought to you by Immortal Therapy for those who've lived for hundreds of thousands of years and still haven't figured out how to process their trauma.
Are you tired of ancient beings with vast power, deep secrets, and the emotional intelligence of a damp rock? Immortal Therapy is here to help.
Our licensed therapists specialize in repressed grief, rage issues, and toxic brooding.
Whether you're the ruler of the underworld or a demigod with abandonment issues or even just a fae prince that just wants to be loved, we've got you covered.
Side effects may include accidental vulnerability, being forced to apologize, and actually talking to your partner before making destructive choices.
Immortal Therapy. Because being eternal doesn't mean you get to skip personal growth. Okay. On to the recap. Becca, you want to start us off?
The story opens with our main character, Samara, walking up on her waking up on her pallet. Not walking, waking. Waking up on her pallet in the corner of the kitchen. We follow her as she prepares breakfast, wakes her three evil brothers up, and generally has a miserable existence.
Yeah. Each brother is a different type of cruel, right? Both to Samara and just in general. Big dickheads. Anyways, Samara cooks, cleans, and keeps house for them while they go out into the enchanted forest and hunt for the entire village of Nat before coming home to abuse her some more.
And her abuse and traumatized existence is all made worse because she can't stop thinking about the Fey Lord, whom she loved, but who left her 7 years ago after she cut off his hand.
Or at least that's what we're led to believe. Okay. I think we've sufficiently set up just how horrible Samara's life is. So one day, her brothers are especially cruel, and Samara decides to end her life. But a handsome prince happens across her in the forest and convinces her not to. He proposes, and she accepts so that she can leave her current awful life.
This feels suspicious already. That night, a fox warns Samara of the trouble that will happen after the prince takes her away and how she can survive it.
Yep, because that's what foxes do. I didn't know if you were aware, but
It's their role.
so the next morning, Prince Henry, he has a name by the way, Prince Henry gives Samara's three brothers an absurd amount of gold and whisks Samara away in his carriage.
But the carriage is set upon by thieves, and the prince is unalived. Before the thieves can unalive Samara, a fae comes to her rescue, unaliving the thieves and then hiding her from her brothers when they show up in the aftermath of the ambush they had set up.
In debt for voluntarily saving her life, um, Prince Lore, the Fae Prince, requires that Samara help him break his curse over the next 7 days. So Samara, Lore, and the fox, because of course the fox, begin to travel together.
Understandably, the first chance she gets, Samara flees. She runs far and wide and grows weary, finally falling asleep in a field of poppies.
Gotta love poppies. She is awoken by a dryad fairy named Old Mother, who helps her get ready to attend the old elf king's royal ball.
At the ball, she ends up dancing with the Goblin King and with Prince Lore. Both males are obviously very smitten with this very human rando girl that just showed up to this party.
And probably hasn't bathed in a month. Anyway, the Goblin King wants Samara's hand in marriage and says that he and Prince Lore must duel to the death.
But the fox interjects, saying that because her betrothed just died the same day, Samara is due 1 year and a day to make a decision. And so the three leave the ball.
But Samara soon grows tired again. Lore decides to carry her to the kingdom of Larkspur, where they stay with Lore's brother, Kardec.
Kardec tells Samara that he believes that Lore believes he is cursed, but is unsure if Lore is actually cursed.
The curse goes something like this. Lore is cursed to be hopelessly in love with a woman who does not even know he exists, and he has been this way for the last 7 years. Sounds super coincidental, doesn't it?
Hmm. Over breakfast, Kardec and Lore are alerted to the intruders on Kardec's land, and Samara's brothers are still hunting her.
So Samara, Lore, and of course the fox leave Larkspur in search of the Witch of the Woods, who will be able to tell them where they can find the wishing tree, which is how they'll break the curse.
So convenient.
Mhm.
On the way, the trio come to a stream and decide to bathe, finally, before camping there. While bathing, Samara and Lore share a kiss, which confuses Samara because Lore is cursed by true love. Why would he kiss her?
I don't know, Samara. Anyway, that night, Samara is roused from sleep, and Nixies, who are like water demons, river demons, whatever, enchant her back into the river, where they attack and drag her under the water. But Lore comes to her rescue.
Even though he just saved her life, Samara is still mad at him. So she storms away through the forest, dripping wet.
And all that day, the weather turns icy, which bad news for Samara dripping wet. So icy, in fact, that travel becomes impossible and they need to find shelter or die. So Samara, the fox, and Lore hunker down in a shelter for 2 days while the storm rages outside. Lore sets a fire and gets everyone nice and toasty again.
While Samara sleeps, Lore takes off his prosthetic hand and drifts off to sleep. When he awakes, Samara has his hand, and now she knows exactly who he is. The Fey Lord she lost 7 years ago, but never stopped loving.
And of course, they have a yelling match about it. And we find out that Samara was hurt because Lore left her 7 years ago after, get this, her brother cut off his hand. And Lore is upset because he thought Samara cut off his hand 7 years ago and thought she didn't want him.
What a misunderstanding. But they come to an understanding that they were both wrong. Yay! And the two express their feelings for one another, and things get nice and spicy. And even though the fox is right there with them, the poor fox.
Yeah, this was like one of those amazing, rare moments in a book where the people talk to each other, but only two of the people talk to each other, and then they forget that the third's there. And and it's like, of course I knew what you were doing. If the top bunk moves, the bottom bunk moves. Anyway, the next morning, the three leave and soon stumble upon the Witch of the Wood.
She makes a bargain with the fox. If the fox and the lord do her chores, and if Samara helps her cook and clean, then she will help them find the wishing tree.
So they do as she asks. Samara and Lore still find time to get super sexy and spicy in the stables before the trio spend a harrowing night separated.
Samara is awoken in the night as the witch attacks her. In a terrifying confrontation, Samara cuts off the witch's head in a fight of defensive rage.
So, but it doesn't come without a price, right? Samara is injured. So the fox heals Samara's wounds as Lore gathers the witch's eyes and claws and sets the cottage on fire. And then the trio departs.
With no information on the wishing tree. But don't worry, we have eyes and talons. So they travel through the enchanted forest that day and stop in the evening to camp. By burning the witch's eyes, the fox and Lore learn where the wishing tree will be.
It will appear in a valley surrounded by the glass mountains at the next full moon, which is tomorrow.
Super.
Conveniently.
As the fox settles down to sleep, Lore and Samara get super duper spicy on the hill beneath the moon.
If anybody's been following along, it went like spicy, super duper spicy. Like there's a progression here, right? Anyway, the next morning is day 7 of the journey and also the first day of the full moon. So the trio head for the Glass Mountains and arrive before nightfall.
Lore and Samara fasten the witch's claws onto their hands and feet in order to begin scaling the mountain.
Yeah.
But Samara's brothers attack, shooting Lore with an arrow.
So the fox and Lore battle the brothers, giving Samara time to start climbing the mountain.
Halfway up, Hans unalives Fox, but Fox transforms into a man and unalives Hans.
Because, Jackal, the third brother, climbs after Samara. Didn't really know how to summarize what happened on the side of the mountain, so just Samara kicks him to his death. He falls.
And that is when the black raven sinks its talons into Samara and flies her away towards the wishing tree. I did appreciate that the black raven came back.
Mm-hmm. Samara hacks at the raven's talons with the witch's claw, causing the raven to drop her into the wishing tree.
Samara grabs an apple, wishes for Lore to no longer be cursed, takes a bite, and then nothing. She blacks out.
Or something. Lore and the fox, or should we call him Friedrich now, scale the mountain somehow and find Samara unconscious and cold at the foot of the wishing tree.
Lore, overcome by grief at having never told Samara that he loves her, cradles her body in his arms and whispers his heart to her and gives her true love's kiss.
Yeah. Samara immediately awakens. And guess what? Laura's no longer cursed, if he ever was.
And the two live happily ever after.
Super cute story, Becca. Super cute story.
It was a cute story.
Because there wasn't too much death or hate fucking, it was actually a super cute story.
It was actually kind of morbid at the beginning, though. I mean, it did start with the themes of suicide.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I thought it was really interesting how you were telling me that like it was like Snow White if you considered her evil brothers to be the dwarves. And I started reading it and I was like, oh no, 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 no. This is
Touche.
once again, it's not I don't even know what it's freaking like. These are like esoteric fairy tales. They are not the ones Disney used. Um, so later on we can kind of I took pictures of the book's pages and we can kind of say what the stories are, but I don't know them enough to like talk about them. But I figure we could kind of talk about our own thoughts on the story and what fairy tales came to mind and blah blah blah. Um, so Prince Henry and the proposal from nowhere. Um, I don't know. So in the first book, so Prince Henry is some of that connective tissue between the books because Prince Henry's brother is the prince that the Fey Lord in book one has imprisoned and is like using to figure out what love means. So I've loved that little callback. Um, and I love how both of them are supposed to be like the shitty version of Prince Charming.
Yes, yes. The adult version of Prince Charming where we all know it's not so charming.
Yeah. Um, and of course the he I I want to know your take on this. I could have done without the little detail that Prince Henry paid off her brothers or tried to. I know that that was pretty common to the time period,
Yeah.
but
There's always a dowry.
yeah, it's just like a super like kind of like an ick factor for me at this point.
That's fair, but also why would they ever let her leave if not for money? Because she was running the place for free for them.
Well, I mean, they had no intention of letting her leave, clearly.
Right. I mean, they kept hunting her down.
Well, yeah, first they hired like a trio of thieves to ambush the carriage, which I thought this was so much fun. You had three dudes, one whose name was Arthur, and I don't know why, but that just made me think of King Arthur, like before he was king of the Round Table. Um, and then the leader of the trio was Peter, which made me feel like Peter Pan. And then the third actually reminded me of Norse mythology, and I can't remember his name. It's probably not important. But then altogether, they also kind of made me think of Robin Hood. But like now you're seeing Robin Hood from the perspective of the rich people,
Yes.
which I thought was a super interesting twist.
Yeah. Very fun. There were so many woven details into this book, even though it was pretty short, all things considered. You you feel I felt like you experienced a lot.
Mm-hmm. Um, I'm super curious. So one thing that we never talked about in the recap was the magical knife.
Mhm.
And I think it plays really heavily into the original fairy tales that Scarlett St. Clair used, but it's like a knife that is so sharp and magical that it can cut through anything with like very minimal pressure. And Lore gave Samara that knife 7 years ago. Her brother stole it, apparently, and cut off his hand with it. But then because it's also magical, because they carry the knife, that's how they've been able to be hunters in the enchanted forest and stay alive all these years and come home with meat all the time. Um, I have no idea what that is supposed to reference outside of the original source material that I don't know. And but also Lore seems to have a copy of the knife. And he uses that throughout the story and he uses that to unalive these three thieves. Um Curious, have you come across any sort of like um other than like King Arthur pulling a sword from a rock, have you come across any sort of magical knife or sword in any of the other typical fairy tales that we would be. Yep, me either.
Yeah, none that rings a bell right now.
Um,
I read a whole series about a blacksmith, but they weren't magical swords that she made.
so the way that Lore hides Samara after the ambush attack was like he grows a tree around them.
Yes,
And that was just like I think that was a good callback to the first book because um in the first book I think I don't even remember the female main character's name, but one of her sisters or whatever that was taken by the forest isn't actually dead and she's being incubated inside of one of the trees or whatever. So I thought that was kind of a cool connective tissue concept.
right? So many little interwoven details. Like the little raven at the end is the same raven that took the other main female character to the mountains made of glass.
Mm-hmm. Which coincidentally is also where the wishing tree was. Anyway, okay, so then we get the field of poppies that she falls asleep in, which I know poppies are very ubiquitous in ancient like old fairy tales, but it really made me think of Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
Yeah. And then of course we get old mother getting her ready for the ball, which I don't know if you didn't think of Cinderella. Um, seems to be like a thing. I thought it was pretty crazy that all of that happened in a inside of a day.
Right?
It's a long ass day.
Kind of crazy.
Kind of crazy.
We have the old mothers. We have this mother character, and then we have the Witch of the Woods, which is like the crone. So then Samara is supposedly the maiden. So we've got this other little interwoven crone mother maiden.
that's a really good detail that I didn't even consider. And I should have because I just recently read the Once and Future Witches and I just also finished writing the script for that like the recap of The Cursed. It's like lots of mother maiden crone
Yeah, 'tis the
concepts and I
season.
didn't pick up on that here.
'Tis the season.
Tis the season. Speaking of the Witch of the Woods, um hello, was that scary to anybody else?
It was dark.
It was terrifying.
And because of the way Scarlett St. Clair writes, I was like, oh no, Samara's being killed. Like that, she made a mistake. She's going to kill her main character with 5 more chapters left to go.
It was sort of like Hansel and Gretel,
Hmm.
but also not. Um,
I think she calls out specifically what the fairy tale is from, but I'm with you. Not knowing that fairy tale very well, Hansel and Gretel is kind of what comes to mind with the lollipops that lead them in.
yeah, because like the thing is that it looks beautiful. The lawn is manicured, the house is beautiful, spotless and clean. But like when you actually touch stuff, it feels like slimy and cold, and it all smells like dying things. And
What a horrific sensory experience to have your other 4 senses tell you something's wrong, but a lot of people's primary sense of vision is telling you
Mhm.
everything is fine. Like, having to try and override your brain,
um, oh, and especially the bed when she goes into that room to go to sleep, the bed is like wet and mildewy and squishy and oh, so she like just like sits down on the ground, which like isn't any better. Ew. I thought you would appreciate um the fact that the witch had iron claws.
Manon came back to us.
Yeah. I don't okay, so I know you like witches. And because you like witches, I now have a new appreciation for witches, but I haven't read enough or like how did this witch hold up with the other witches that you've read? Witch lore, whatever.
Think this is what I appreciate about witches. They're also different and varied. You know, you've got your lovely little witches who are just trying to make a perfect cake, right? Then you've got your manons who are battle front witches who are going to take you down. And then you have the Witch of the Woods, who is the creepy little monster that everyone warns you about that is, pray tell, what the um, Puritans were afraid of.
I kept thinking like the way that Scarlett St. Clair described this, if any of you have read uh Sarah J. Moss, if you can like combine Manon in Throne of Glass with the Weaver and Akatar,
Oh, yes.
that's sort of kind of what came to mind when I was reading this. Really scary. The attack in the middle of the night was terrifying.
All because Samara made one mistake. She didn't put the gold thread out.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm what is so fun about this podcast that we're doing is like, I'll go ahead. I'm going to pat myself in the back a little bit. Uh, I'm like really well read for an average American that doesn't do any of this for like a living or in conjunction with his job. But because this like fairy tale world, like this book adventure is kind of new to me, it's really fun and exciting because I don't have all of the backstory and source material in my head. Um, but I do agree with you. I do like how all the witches are they're all so different. It's pretty cool. So Samara decapitates her with the gold thread. So
Ruthless. Fucking ruthless.
ruthless. Um, do we have any thoughts on the final confrontation at the Glass Mountains?
When you get to the end of a book and it's a battle scene or whatever, and it's just chaos. Do I know what's going on? No, I don't. But I read every sentence with pure joy, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And I still don't know. And I still enjoyed the journey.
Yeah, it was a little chaotic. Like, dang. Um, the only thing I could think of is that when Lore got shot by an arrow from Jackal or whatever, I had like hardcore Beauty and the Beast vibes of Gaston shooting the beast,
Yep.
kind of a thing.
I was like, okay, well, she left Samara intact after the Witch of the Woods, so I guess Laura is truly dead because this is how dark she writes.
But
Nope, we
nope,
still got her ever after.
we still got True Love's Kiss. Um, really gave some Snow White vibes there. Maybe a little bit of Sleeping Beauty. But I also know the True Love's Kiss thing is just relatively
Ubiquitous.
ubiquitous, I guess. Yeah. Um, so I loved all of those details. We already talked about like the spiciness level, but I like how I know in the recap we kind of kept it PG and we just said they got spicy and then they got super spicy and they got super duper spicy. Um, but like it's like they shared a kiss and then there was like some teasing, you know, so you get all pent up and like it was I really like the progression and it's not like they didn't do anything until
The end.
um kind of near the end there. So I kind of appreciated that they had a little bit more of a relationship build.
Yes. Yeah, when you said super duper spicy, I was like, I'm still pretty sure this is one chili pepper, just so we're clear.
I mean, I think the witch makes the comment that she can like smell the prince's
Huh? Yeah.
ejaculate. So I don't know about you, but if there's some white sticky material involved, it's going to be pretty super duper spicy for me. It might not be like the cursed level of super duper spicy and graphic, but you know, not five, definitely not five chili peppers, maybe upwards of three, depending upon your personal uh, frame of reference. Yeah.
Trash Man is here,
Trash Man.
and
Okay.
Duxie is saying hello.
What else about this story? Any other thoughts?
Just that I'm ready for the next 5 to come out.
Do we have any info on book 3?
I haven't gone searching, but maybe it was the first one. I think they had the princes in the order, so I'm guessing whoever's third on that list is who we will be learning more about.
Okay. Um, I guess so that we can put it on our like reading list. I'll read. See, you can see I took pictures of the book. I'll read just some fairy tale titles. So if anybody listening cares, or we can put it on our list of stuff to read. Okay, so um, The Hand with the Knife, and then The Nixie of the Mill Pond,
Yes, those were the river people.
The Elf Mound, and I think there was one other that I don't have a. So, like, really, I guess I can't say this. They're probably pretty typical fairy tales in the world of academia and whatever, but I would label them all as like extremely esoteric in the world in which we live in, where all the fairy tales we know have been Disneyfied. Yeah. Um, do we recommend this to others?
I highly recommend. For those that are fast readers, it's a weekend book. It's not a long one. It's a fanciful little story.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. 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 Agreed.
Shall we put a bookmark in it for now?
I think we should. So, thank you to everybody so much for listening. Don't forget to leave us a comment, send us some type of message somewhere. We'd love to connect and chat.
Until next time.
Bye, friends.